Hello YouTube, this is BUB'S Comics coming at you with a quick comic haul. It's going to be an independent comic haul. Let me see, all these books were, yep, they're from the last Comic-Con, so good deal. We'll start off with the first appearance. This is Witchblade and She. It's the first appearance of Witchblade. So glad to have that. This is one of those first appearance books that is very cheap. You can find it all over. I wanted to get a pretty good copy of it. I think it's a Silvestri cover. It's got a couple of ticks here and there, but very minor, and I only paid $1 for it, so really, actually, probably less than $1, because I rounded up a couple of books out of $1 bin at the con, but then, you know, worked the price down from $1 a piece, so it worked out pretty good. So, next we have, keeping with Witchblade, we have Witchblade 1/2. And this is a Wizard Special Gold Edition. And you see that kind of foil work in there. So that's pretty cool. And it comes with COA, which is funny because these Wizard COAs, they don't tell you how many there were. They don't tell you what the production number are. They just tell you, you know, this is a special mail-away edition of this comic. So there's a limited amount. But who knows what it's limited to. It could be 60 billion. Next we have Tomb Raider #1. I already had this book. I have multiple copies of the Tomb Raider #1s. One of my little back of my mind collecting goals is to get all the Tomb Raider #1 variants, and there's quite a few. I have probably 7 or 8 of them, different ones, but this was the one done by David Finch, and David Finch was at the con, so I got him to sign it, and I presented him a couple of books. And I do this I've done this at other cons before too. So I presented him a couple of books and I gave him the option of which ones he wanted to sign. And the reason that I do that, well, first, as you all know, I'm kind of on the cheap side. So, or the thrifty, whatever you want to call it. I think it's cheap. So I gave him a couple of books to sign. And the reason I did that is because he said the first 2 books were free and then it would be $5 a book after that. So I presented him like 3 books usually, and I'll say, well, which one do you want to sign? Or 4 books. I think I brought 4 books, and I let him pick the one he wanted to sign, and that way it kind of gets them invested. And then every now and then they'll say, well, I'll just sign them all, no big deal, no charge. So but he stuck to his guns on this one. So anyway, I did end up paying for one of them, but this one he wanted to sign because he said he got in a lot of trouble for this cover. And the reason that he got into trouble was because he didn't proof it with the editor first. He just drew it and sent it out. And what happened is that they didn't like that Tomb Raider that Lara Croft wasn't facing the cover. She wasn't facing the audience or the reader. She was facing away, and she had her butt stuck out in the dead center of the book. And he said that he got in a lot of trouble for that, because they wanted all the covers to be kind of pinup covers, front-facing pinup covers. And he knew that, but he figured, well, you know, if that's the case, then no one's going to be showing her butt. So I have a chance to draw a Tomb Raider butt, and I'm going to do it. So he did. He said he got in a lot of trouble. He was like on probation for it, for drawing covers. And then they told him that, so I asked him, I said, I'd say now that you're obviously much more sought after, and nobody's going to tell David Finch probably what to draw on the cover. And he said that's true, but he also has since then, because this was very early on in his days as a cover artist, he said since then I've also been very good. He said I never step out of bounds. I always make sure that I do the right thing, and that I contact the editor first, and I send proofs for everything I do. And I have a reputation in the industry now of playing by the rules. And he said, and because of that, no one even questions my work anymore, not because of how good of an artist I am, which is, you know, of course he's being humble. He's like, you know, there's better artists out there. He was like, it's not because of how good an artist I am, but it's because of my reputation of being professional in the industry. And this is the book that taught him that. So there you go. So obviously had to get that one signed because it came with such a great story. Next we have, I'll show you another Finch book. He said this was one of his favorite covers that he ever did. The Shadow and Batman #1. Really, really good book. So there are 2 runs of this book, which happens often when publishers cross over. So when a publisher crosses over, you'll see one of the publishers will be named first. So this is a little lesson in publisher crossovers. Here you have Dynamite, right? And then you have DC below it. So usually when you see the publishers listed that way on the cover especially, or in the indicia, what that means is that it corresponds to the relationship of where the character is in the story. So this is the Shadow and Batman. So it's Dynamite and DC. See what they did there? So what happens is that usually they'll then trade off with the same characters. So one of the runs will come first. In this case, I believe it was Shadow Batman. And then there'll be later a Batman Shadow run, and it'll say DC and Dynamite. Now the Shadow Batman run I think is fantastic. The Batman Shadow run I think is terrible. I had the whole set and I sold them off. Some great cover art here and there, but even then, pretty rough. The Shadow Batman run, if you're looking for this is the one to get. It's got a great story, full of action and plot twists, and just really cool. So had him to sign that, and he had copies of this book available for purchase because he liked it so well that he had them available. So I think that's always cool when you go to an artist and they like their own work and they sign it. They'll usually tell you. Next, we got some classic books that I was really excited for, and this is Jerry Iger's Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, the 3D Special Edition. And of course, that's my man Dave Stevens right there. Looking good. Look at that. Nice. I love the little bracelet he put on her, or the anklet he put there. That is really special. You can't go wrong with Dave Stevens' art. Always looks good. You know, this is going to sound weird. So to me, he's like the Michael Bublé of artists. So what I mean by that is that when it comes to music, you know, every now and then you'll have, or really every generation will have a crooner. You know, someone who is singing in the style of, you know, the olden style. So, you know, you might have a 50s style of singing or a 60s even style of singing. And then you'll get a modern person. You know, I remember Harry Connick Jr. sang similar songs like that. And, you know, you have these crooners. And really the crooner style of music is pretty much dead. And there's only ever one artist or singer who's doing that style of music at a time, because we only need one to sing all the same songs. And then when that guy gets too old or too tired or quits, then you get a new young guy who's somewhat good looking, right? And then he starts doing it. So to me, Dave Stevens, at this time that he was prolific, of course he's passed on now, a great loss to the comic community. But at that time, to me, he was the, you know, Michael Bublé of artists. He was the guy doing this pinup work in an older style, but he had it mastered and really indistinguishable from the original artists who did style work like this and kind of originated it. So this looks absolutely fantastic. He's an absolute master of pinup work. Just beautiful, beautiful art. I've got quite a Dave Stevens collection so far, and I hope it continues to grow. Speaking of which, here's Jungle Comics #1, another Dave Stevens beauty. That is nice. And you can get these fairly inexpensive. They're usually $5 to $10 books. And then, you know, in slabs, every now and then you'll see someone gets one slabbed, and you can pick those up usually for under $100. So great investment books, just absolutely beautiful. You know, I don't know if they're gonna, you know, command a bunch of money someday. I doubt it. You know, these are a lot of times independent publishers that he worked on, so you know, I don't know if it's gonna ever command a lot, but I just think this cover is so good. It's so good. It almost, you know, every time I look at one of these covers, it's very reminiscent of some golden age, beautiful artist pinup work. You know, just some Matt Baker, a little bit of L.B. Cole. It's just great stuff. You know, there's so much going on in this. It really does remind me kind of a Cole book. If it weren't for all this unused negative space, this back art that, you know, Cole would have drawn squiggles or something all over that. But if it weren't for that, I would say it's very reminiscent of Cole. And then even the background of the Jungle comics, a lot of stuff going on there. So really, really love David Stevens' work. Just fantastic. And I picked this up, and this is a little kind of oddity. It was carded when I bought it, but the card was all messed up. I had to take it out and clean it. But this is an unused cover. So this is Witchblade Tomb Raider. So that was a crossover for the two characters. And this is an unused cover. So if you see the back, it has the interior printed as well from what would be the two covers, the inside of the front cover and the inside of the back cover. And, you know, I picked this up for $5 at the con. I just couldn't leave it behind. I passed it. It was the only thing at the con that I didn't haggle on the price. It was the only thing. It was $5. I paid the $5, but I sure sweated over it. Circled over the con, left it behind 3 times, asked the poor guy to bring it down and let me look at it like twice, and then finally decided to buy it at the end of the con before I left because I just didn't want to leave it behind. Just loved that foil on there. I don't have this cover, and I'm probably going to put it in a little frame or something. I don't think these things are worth very much. I mean, obviously I only paid $5 for it. A little bit of a mark there, but other than that, just a really kind of cool piece. I don't have anything like that, so I'm going to throw it in a frame and keep it. So there you go. All right, that's my little independent haul. Hope y'all enjoyed that, and we will leave you with the 3D Jungle Queen here, Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. Dave Stevens rocking it out as always. And when y'all get done ogling your the covers of your comics, go ahead and crack one open and read it. Thanks. Bye.